Okay, so the dust has settled from UFC 279, and I think we got a lot of questions answered, albeit a very strange way. Um, the co-main event, we're gonna really just focus on this one. Khamzat Chimaev, just a absolute beast and stud of an athlete and a stud of a fighter, man. The guy is just he is a special gift to this generation of MMA, in my personal and humble opinion. Holland is a tough dude. Look at his resume of the guys he's fought, the guys he's given very big opposition to, even if he's lost, and then see the guys he's knocked out, and you can gauge that skill set and those performances. And then you see a guy like Khamzat Chimaev who comes in and absolutely just crushes the competition. Now, the UFC rankings right now, this is on a Sunday. I saw that the rankings were Khamzat Chimaev at 3, behind Covington, and behind Usman, and then, of course, Leon Edwards, the champion. I can't see anyone else on this list who can really give him a significant challenge unless they are going to be specialists in the grappling department and not just BJJ. They have to have some type of wrestling. I think Khamzat is a shoe-in to be a champion already. Now, you look at Holland, he's younger than Diaz. He might not have the grappling credentials, but he's long, he's lanky, he's 6'2", he's a strong guy, was knocking guys out at 185, came down to welterweight and doing what he did, 2 finishes in a row. And of course, we have to point out, not the greatest wrestler or grappler, but the fact that he was able to do what he has done to get to this point of his career. And then you can see Leach in the rankings at somewhere around 14. D-Rod's not even ranked. He just beat Leach in a close split decision fight, in a fight that I thought could have been a coin flip and gone either way. Now, in the midst of that whole chaos, I thought the Leach got the short end of the stick. But then watching the fight live, I go, I think the person who got the shortest end of the stick in that whole trade, in terms of a potential chance to win, just odds of winning, Kevin Holland. Preparation, complete style difference, and not just a style difference, a specialist in that style. He got the shortest end of the stick. Whatever he got paid, I hope he got taken care of to step up and take that fight and, I don't want to say save the card, but kind of save the card, you know? Even though Khamzat kind of became a villain after missing weight by 8 pounds or whatever it was, I think people are still intrigued by him. He still has this aura, this zen that people want to see, and just it's just very captivating what he does and the energy he brings and how he does it. One thing I will point out, Kevin didn't want to come to the middle and touch gloves, or, you know, when they bring you to the center, 5 rounds, main event, or whatever it is, touch gloves. He didn't want to do that. He stayed just far enough away. But then when they said ready fight, he comes out with his hand like he was about to touch gloves. And I didn't realize this until I spoke to a guy from my management team. And Oren, he goes, the glove touch was kind of whack. And I go, there was a glove touch or moment? I didn't see it. I saw it on Twitter. I saw it. He sent me the video. And he indeed goes out to touch gloves. He has one hand up. He goes to touch gloves. And Khamzat, I don't know if he reached out or he was faking a jab. It just happened so fast. It just looked like he extended his hand. And then as soon as he extended, he shot in level change, ducked his head in for a double leg, sweeping double, knee pull, came to the side, created the entanglement that he needed. And from there, it was just the beginning of the end. And again, Kevin's a strong dude coming down from 185. Did what he did to Jacare, knocked the guy out who was a specialist. But the wrestling is just so different when a guy can pick you up and wrap you up like that. That's different. Now, I see guys, and when I look through the rankings, I see a guy like Bilal Muhammad. May not be the strongest grappler, but he's a strong built dude who uses a grinding style to press you against the cage, to neutralize your position, beat you up with knees, and if he can get the submission, he'll get the submission. He's a strong, shredded dude. Then you got Sean Brady. More or less the same thing, except he's more of a BJJ specialist, in my personal opinion. I mean, when he fought Michael Chiesa and what he was able to do with Chiesa, I was actually very, very impressed. Because Chiesa is pretty damn good on the ground himself. So I think it's going to take a guy, or should I say a style like that, for Chimaev to run into that's going to be his equal. Maybe Usman. I think he can thwart some of that off. But then I think if he gets Usman down, how does Usman get back to his feet? Where the one loss that he does have, the two losses now, the one significant loss where he got finished, one of the sequences was a rear naked choke. We saw him with Maia when the guy had his back. The ref stopped that position. We don't know what would have actually happened if the ref let that continue, if he might have got tripped up, or if Maia would have been able to advance, or if Usman would have just escaped. So there's a lot of what ifs, you know? It's just, we just will never know. But that's an interesting matchup. Then you got Covington, who I think is a little too small for 170, but he got to the top, fought for the title 3 different times, right? Against one of the best guys who was before pound for pound king in Kamaru Usman, and going the distance with him once, and one time should have went the distance, but I think the ref stopped it a little bit prematurely. My personal opinion. I don't know if the fight would have gotten any better for him, but I do think the stoppage could have. I think they could have waited on that to see if he could have advanced that position, because the shots were not like, oh, the fight should be stopped. You can say whatever you want about the jaw. Oh, his jaw is broke. Dude, that's not how you don't stop the fight because of something that happened early in the fight. You stop it in the moment, in the sequence. That's at least what we're told. Not because, hey, man, you got beat up earlier in the fight, so now if you come back and you do good and then you get hurt again, there's a chance we're going to stop the fight because this sequence is different and it's additional to the other damage that you take. What? It's a fist fight. So, back to Khamzat. I think a guy like Brady makes it very interesting. I think a guy like Bilal Muhammad makes it very interesting. Now, Khamzat making weight, that's also very interesting. Now, we still don't have full-on clarity of what actually happened behind the scenes. We may never know unless Khamzat comes out and just talks about everything and has no reserve in what he's actually telling the masses. But I will say, I think the doctors told him he needs to stop cutting weight because he was probably having a tough time for good reason. He's a big, tall guy. He's strong. He looked chiseled already. And maybe he was having some cramping issues or whatever. And the doctors came in and advised that he stopped. Okay, you're supposed to stop if the doctors say to stop. But we all go through that situation. And, it's just one of those things where he's in a unique situation where he's special enough and important enough on a card that you can't just let that fight fall through. So you figure out any way you can save the card. Kevin Holland steps up, saves the card. Nate Diaz wasn't going to step up and save the card. He signed for 171, and he was going to oblige for 171. And I'm honestly glad that fight never happened. I think this is a much better matchup in terms of youth and guys in their relative careers. I think Ferguson versus Nate Diaz was a much better matchup than what we would have saw with probably Khamzat versus Nate Diaz. I mean, Nate with a beautiful guillotine finish over Tony Ferguson, and we're going to talk about that. But I just think where those guys are in their careers, how fast Khamzat came out and shot that takedown, I don't know if Diaz is strong enough to stop that. So it makes everything very, very interesting. And then it makes it interesting, can Khamzat make 170 flat? Doing all the lifting, taking this fight on short notice, so to speak, not having a full training camp to properly diet down and get down the weight from all the lifting he's been doing, and he talked about this. So there's a lot of variables going into this, and I think we're going to see how the dust settles a little bit. And after Abu Dhabi, I think we're going to have a little bit more clarity on who is going to be who and where should each fighter be respectively in the welterweight division. And I think things are very, very, very much heating up for everybody because Khamzat is there and he's coming for everybody's ass. And I'm not even saying that in a jokingly way. I think he's legitimately coming for everybody. And the way he's doing it, I think it's scary. Scary good. He took one strike over the course of how many fights? The only person who's ever really able to touch him up was Gilbert Burns. And we do have to wonder if Khamzat could have just came out and shot right away and tried to make it more of a grappling-esque fight versus coming out like he did against Holland and just making it a grappling match. Let's just get this fight to the ground and then choke this guy out unconscious or choke this guy to sleep, whatever you want to call it. Just submit this guy, So I think if Holland had a little bit more time, things could have been a little bit different. Maybe he still ends up in a finish. I'm going to say still ends up in a finish because it's hard to close that gap in such a short amount of time. And respect to Holland. The guy is I think he's a hard worker. He's a smart dude. I think if you put the tools in front of him, he could absorb the knowledge. But for what Khamzat's been doing for years since he was a young Chechen wrestler versus Holland trying to catch up and close that gap in a training camp, it's just not the same, and it's very, very difficult to do. You can make the fight more interesting and get out of certain positions, but I think eventually the battle of attrition will probably end up shining through, and I think the guy who's just been able to do it a little bit longer normally comes out on top unless Kevin catches him clean and starches him, which can also happen because it's MMA, right? So I'm very much looking forward to see what's next for Khamzat Chimaev. I'm looking forward to seeing when they're going to rebook Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman 2. Then you have the fights in Abu Dhabi with Brady and Bilal. And I think this is going to let us know who is next up and who is on deck to be one of the next front runners in that UFC welterweight division. And Colby Covington has got to come out to play eventually. So I know he wants to really, at least what it seems like, he just wants to take the top name guys. And he's smart. Why is he going to take on a young killer like Khamzat? It's a tough fight for him stylistically because it's a bigger wrestler. And even though Kobe's a really good wrestler, he's fighting almost a mirror image of himself, except a guy with really good submission skills who can submit you with a Darce choke, an anaconda choke, rear naked choke. It probably has good arm bars and shit like that. So Khamzat's a tough guy for everybody, and he can crack. He's got good pop on the feet. He might not have the best hands, but he's willing to throw. He's willing to bite down and get in a scrap with whoever, it seems like, if needed. If needed. Because obviously he didn't do that with Kevin Holland because that was the path of least resistance. Go out there, take him down, and make the fight as easy as he said he's going to make it. And he went out there and he did just that. So this welterweight division is getting good, and I like it. Beautiful sequences from Khamzat, trying to get the rear naked choke, can't get it, turns in, gets the mount. Kevin reverses, comes, not fully reverses, but gets out, scrambles. Then he gets back on top. He gets into like a front headlock position. He tries to go for like a anaconda choke. Holland defends perfectly, rolls over the top. I don't know what sequence he hurt his shoulder, but when he got up, he was holding his shoulder. Maybe it was from the initial takedown or the mat return when Kevin got up and then he mat returned him back to the ground onto the canvas because it's not like a wrestling mat. It's actual canvas. Like the shit hurts. And then he transitioned to a beautiful from the anaconda choke. So he had the anaconda choke and he transitioned and shot the arms in and went the other way and locked up the Darce choke. Now, if you watch that sequence and see how fast he did it, he's got long, rangy arms, not as long as Kevin Holland. And I think Kevin's length is what kept him in the fight that long, defending the choke. Normally, I'm in that position like that, anaconda or Darce choke. I go flat on my belly, and I try to open my arms and keep my chest open and keep the neck open as well so that I can keep as much space between the carotid and not letting you cut the pressure off of stepping over my back and tying me up where I'm being forced to tap. And it just feels like the walls are slowly closing in on you as you fade to black. Yes. It's a very scary position to be in. So watch that sequence again, guys, because there is a lot of beauty in that. And to see how he did it. And he squeezed and sold out on it. And that's why I was like, maybe Kevin's going to survive this and he's going to come back and make this an interesting fight if he gets out of this. But the fact that Khamzat was able to squeeze for so long and then after squeezing, not getting it, and then readjusting and then squeezing again, not getting it, and then doing it one more time and then this time selling out again and getting it, that says a lot. That's muscle endurance right there. Isometric squeezes, isometric contractions, being able to hold that position, recharge, and then go again. That's work. That's a lot of work. So I'm very much excited for all these guys. And again, I think Holland got the shortest end of the stick. Hopefully, financially, he was taken care of. I hope, because he did a big part in stepping up. And although, I know he wasn't happy with the performance, I think anybody else who stepped into that position probably would have ended up the same exact way. That's what I honestly think. Um, but it is what it is. So respect to Khamzat for doing what he needed to do and showing the world that he's still one of the baddest guys, if not the baddest guy in that division right now. Or, yeah, I would say he's probably the baddest guy in terms of all-around skill set, because grappling dictates the pace of the fight. You can be as good as a striker, but you need to connect to end the fight. Grapplers just need to grab you and they can just drain you, and eventually it's just like a slow but steady death. That's what it feels like. So I'm very much interested to see how this division shapes up. You got Burns still there. You got Jeff Neal back in the top 6. Like, imagine Khamzat versus Neal, Khamzat versus Covington, Khamzat versus Masvidal, like, or this Rachmanov guy who's also undefeated, Shavkat Rachmanov. There's a lot of good things coming up in this division, and I'm very much excited to see who's going to shine bright and who's going to have the skills to turn Chimaev back, or will Chimaev continue his onslaught and just keep terrorizing this division? I'm going to say it's going to be hard for a lot of these guys to stop it, but as we've seen before, even with Usman grinding out Leon Edwards, if you can stay in the fight long enough, you might be able to find yourself a window where you can land it, as he says, headshot, dead, pound for pound. Look at me now. And that's all I got for you guys for this. I want to end this segment on a heavy note, man. This is a tough one. I hung out with this dude multiple times. Rest in peace to Elias Theodorou, man. I'm sorry for your loss to you and your family. And from what I'm reading, it's stage 4 liver cancer, and it's a shitty thing, man. Definitely watered up and teared up reading the news on that, man, because that hit home. We've hung out, we've fought on the same card, we've had the same sponsorship, we've done promo videos together, and I'm not very emotional when it comes to like sharing my feelings about people and things like that. I'm very like hardened from just the way I've grown up, and to just be like toughen up and man up. But yeah, man, as the older I get, the more I realize it's okay to be comfortable in your skin, and realizing those feelings are there and just letting them just kind of happen. So it's crappy, life is too short. So whatever you have out there, man, if you have goals, you have dreams, like, seriously, go out there and just give it all you got, because you never know when your song is going to be over. So Lachlan, I hope you guys are doing okay. And again, to Elias's family, condolences to you guys. He was a very, very good dude, man. Nothing but good things I can say about Elias. Such a fun guy to be around, energetic, comedian, very smart, very thoughtful, and very open-minded, and not, just stuck in his own ways. So it sucks when you lose a good guy, a good person like that, and that could be any one of us. So rest in peace, Elias. Much love, my brother. And on that note, I'll see you guys next time.